The flame is perfectly still, not a candle. A wick floating in oil inside a plain glass, the kind of small light people kept burning beside a bed. So the dark would not be total. You can nearly smell it. Hot oil, a thread of soot, the dry, close warmth of a room where one small fire has been going and for hours. It is the cheapest object in the picture. It is the only thing that should be moving. It isn't. That may be the first lie here. Oil light shudders. It breathes with the room. It leans when a door opens somewhere down the hall. It gutters when someone walks past too quickly. It thins, recovers, thins again. All night. Anyone who has sat up with one knows this. The man who painted this had sat up with hundreds. He painted one that refuses to. Follow the light where it goes. Up through the glass which holds the fire like something being kept, rather than something burning. Across a dark table, 2 books stacked without ceremony. A crucifix beside them lying flat, not raised, not held out toward us. Set down, the way you set down a thing you have finished using. A coil of knotted cord at rest near the edge. Then, across to her, a woman seated in profile, white linen loose at the shoulder, a red skirt burning quietly in the half-dark, the only other warm thing in the room. Her left hand is pressed to her cheek, her chin sunk into it, elbow tucked against her ribs. It doesn't read as a pose. It reads as what a body does at 2 in the morning, when it has stopped performing for anyone. And across her thighs, beneath her right hand, a skull, not displayed, not lifted toward the light for our benefit. Resting the way a sleeping cat settles onto a lap, her palm curved over the crown of it the way you steady something you have grown used to. She is not frightened of it. Whatever this thing once was, she has had it in the house a long time. This is the Magdalen with the nightlight, painted around 1642 by Georges de la Tour. It hangs today in the Louvre, in a room kept dim enough that the glass still seems to be doing the work. The story we tell about a painting this quiet is always the same. We assume a quiet man made it, some withdrawn soul in a cold studio, a mystic with paint under his fingernails, setting down the piece he had found. Very little of that survives contact with the record. The man who built this room was living in one of the most violent corners of Europe. And the violence was not distant, it was in his street, in his fields, eventually inside his own house. So the question is not what she is thinking. The question is what he could see when he looked up from her. Lorraine, in the years he worked, was not really a country. It was a corridor, a rich little duchy wedged between France and the Empire, and when the 30 Years' War went looking for a road, Lorraine was the road. French troops came through, Imperial troops answered, and behind the armies came the things that always follow armies, and kill more people than the armies do. Fever, hunger, then the long gray years afterward, when the fields come back before the people do. One window, then I'll close it. In parts of the duchy, the tax rolls simply stopped working, because there were no longer enough households to tax. Wheat stood uncut into the autumn, doors left open, clerks writing numbers so small they look like errors, and they aren't errors. The arithmetic hadn't broken, there was just nothing left to count. Shutter closed, that's enough, because none of it is anywhere in his work. Not one soldier, not one burning roof, not one body in a ditch, no smoke on a horizon, not even a rumor of it behind someone's shoulder. Go through the whole surviving body of his paintings and you will find beggars, musicians, card sharps, saints, sleeping apostles, women with lamps. And no war at all. It isn't that his corner of Europe lacked a language for it. Another man from Lorraine had already built that language. Jacques Callot, born in Nancy, was cutting the war into copper plates no bigger than your hand, and exact enough to be unbearable. The looted farmhouse, the burning village, the hanging tree, and with its neat crop of men. He made the horror something you could hold up to a window and study. Latour, in the same duchy, in the same decades, painted a woman alone with a lamp. Thinking. You could call that escape, plenty have. It's the easy reading, the artist who looked away, who chose the warm room, who let the century pass beneath his window. Except he didn't look away. He couldn't. In 1638, French troops sacked and burned Lunéville, the town where he had lived for 18 years. By the account most often given, more than half of his recorded inventory disappeared in the destruction. He rebuilt. He stayed. He went on painting rooms where nothing bad happens. And here is the part most tellings leave out, because it ruins the shape of the story. The documents that survive him are not the documents of a gentle man. Municipal papers, complaints, records of disputes. The inhabitants of Lunéville put their grievances about him in writing. That he kept hunting dogs and let them run through standing crops, that he pressed the exemptions and privileges owed to the town's celebrated painter, a man honored by the king, and pressed them hard. In years when the people around him had almost nothing left. Arrogance, violence, refusal to contribute when the hungry needed contributions. The town found him difficult. That is not my reading of him. That is what the paper says. So the tidy version is sitting right there. And I'm not going to hand it to you. The version where he hardened on the outside in order to stay soft on the inside. Where the cruelty was the shell and the paintings were the truth. It's a lovely idea. I don't believe it. Neither should you. It lets everybody off. Here's what's actually in front of us. A man understood tenderness well enough to build it, brush stroke by brush stroke, in a room lit by a single floating wick. Then walked out through his own door and let his hounds into a neighbor's wheat. Both are him. Neither cancels the other, which means the calm in this painting was never a report. It was never something he had and generously passed along. It was something he couldn't get. Go back to the skull, because that's where the painting stops being about repentance. Dying in Lorraine in those years was not something you sat with. It arrived, by cavalry, by fever, by an empty granary in February. It came through the door already broken at an hour nobody chose, and it took the room. And he paints a woman with the whole fact of it lying quietly in her lap, under her own hand, going nowhere. Not the fantasy of escaping it, she's holding it, she's stopped pretending. The fantasy of meeting it, on your own schedule, slowly, at your own pace, in a warm room with the door shut and the books within reach and no one hammering on the wood outside. That is what he built for her. A room the armies cannot enter, and she faces the flame. She doesn't turn away from it. But facing a light is not the same as surrendering to it. Her eyes don't lift, her expression doesn't open. There's no visible instant of grace arranged for our benefit. Again and again, painters gave the Magdalen an upturned face, wet eyes, heaven arriving exactly where the audience could witness it. The revelation staged, ticketed, confirmed. Not here. The light reaches her face, and whatever answer she gives it stays hers. We're standing in the room and we're still not admitted. That's why this picture keeps working on people who couldn't name a single fact about the 17th century. It doesn't resolve. Her chin rests in her hand in the old posture of melancholy. And she is held one moment short of whatever comes next. He doesn't give us the conversion. He gives us the second before it becomes visible. Then, go back to the flame that will not move. No flame stays like that. He took a thing that trembles by nature and denied it the right to tremble. And you only paint something that precisely, that stubbornly when you need it to be true. Latour outlived the 30 Years' War by 4 years, not the epidemics that came after it. In January 1652, illness moved through his household in Lunéville. His wife Diane died. A servant died. Within days, he was dead too. He was 58. His name very nearly went out with him. 250 years in the dark, his paintings hanging under other men's signatures. The flame didn't go out. We assume calm art comes from calm people. Often it's the reverse. A steady hand is not evidence of a steady life. Sometimes it's only evidence of how badly a man needed steadiness to exist somewhere. You make your calmest thing out of what you lack most. Look at the glass once more. The oil, the wick, the small unmoving fire that no one has ever actually seen. He held the brush still long enough to build one room where nothing could enter without his permission. Then he opened his door and went out into the century. All right, that's it for this one. Quick thing before you go. This channel is brand new, so a comment from you, it genuinely means a lot right now. Tell me which painting I should cover next, any painting. Famous or not, drop the name below and I'll actually make the video. And if you enjoyed this, hit like it and subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.